Good morning, War Report family. Your man Ike Jones here. It is Friday, December 16th. We are here to talk about the potential future of Auburn football and their quarterback position. Grayson McCall rumored to be coming down to the Plains this weekend. Let's talk about whether or not we feel like he is going to be a good fit for Auburn football. Y'all know what we do. It's time for the morning drop. Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Friday morning, the morning drop sponsored by the Rogue Shop. RogueShop.com is your place for all of your herbal supplement needs. Your man Ike Jones in here this morning. Welcome in, War Report family, Auburn family. It's good to be here. Glad that you all are able to make this Friday morning a beautiful one because you're in here with me. It's beautiful because you're here. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I appreciate y'all dropping in here with me. As said, man, we're going to be talking about Grayson McCall. This weekend is going to be a big recruiting weekend for Auburn University. A lot of high-profile people, but probably the highlight for most people is Grayson McCall, just because of the interest of him potentially coming down and competing for the quarterback spot. And the question that's been going around is whether or not Grayson McCall is going to be able to make the transition to Power 5 and duplicate what's been happening. And it's actually a debate. Like, there are some people who think, hey, man, we don't think that Grayson McCall can do it. Like Coastal Carolina, who cares that he did it at Coastal Carolina? This is the SEC. This is Auburn. This is a different level of competition. Why is everybody so hype about this kid? And, I guess it's not unfair to have your questions about somebody who you haven't seen before, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about who Grayson McCall is first and foremost. When y'all are jumping in here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the content so that you can always know what's going on. If you want to be able to chat with us in just a minute, I'll be going to the chat. You have to be a member of the War Report. Y'all know how we do with these morning drops. And if you don't know now, you know you have to be a member. So click the join button to come on board if you want to be in the live chat. But you need to be a member to do that. So $5.99 gets you to the Patreon level where we're doing all the film breakdowns. I got some coming for you guys soon. I know I've been promising this stuff, but I promise you I got a lot of film I'm coming through and trying to figure out how I want to drop it. When I do start dropping, it's going to be coming back to back to back. So y'all just be ready to drink from the fire hose when it comes to that. But our sponsor this morning, of course, is Rogue Shop. Head to RogueShop.com. Use code REPORT for 15% off of your purchase, and that will let them know that the War Report sent you. All right, let's get into it. Grayson McCall. Again, Grayson McCall is coming from Coastal Carolina. I'm saying coming from Coastal Carolina as if he's already here. He is in the transfer portal right now, scheduled to be on the Plains this weekend, along with a lot of other high-profile transfer targets for Auburn supposed to be here. Transfer and folks that they're trying to get signed for early signing day. There's supposed to be quite a few athletes that are going to be in the building this weekend. But Grayson McCall is one of them. Let's just talk about who he is as a player. He is, again, from Coastal Carolina over in the Sun Belt. He is two-time player of the year in the conference and passed for 2,633 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions last season. He's got 3 years of starting experience down there, looked at quite a bit of his tape, and it seems like he can make all of the throws, man. I think it's important when we talk about the type of offense that we're going to be running under Coach Hugh Freeze. We're going to get back into more of the spread, high-powered, more up-tempo, when I call pace and space, it's more of a basketball term, but, use it in football too. What you see from Josh Heupel last year at Tennessee, we're going to be using no huddle, going at an up-tempo, a lot of the same concepts that you see from like a Lane Kiffin offense, right? So a lot of people were really excited about Lane Kiffin and his potential when he was rumored to be the coach coming to Auburn. You're going to see a lot of that with the offense between what you have with Coach Hugh Freeze and what you have with Philip Montgomery. It's going to be a lot of space, a lot of having to have good ball handling at the mesh point and be able to use an RPO style thing. So can Grayson McCall do that? The answer is yes. That's the kind of offense that he ran under Jamie Chadwell at Coastal Carolina. Jamie Chadwell now moving on to Liberty as the head coach, which is very interesting. So, is there a potential that he would want to go and join his old coach over at Liberty? It's the same kind of conference level. So I don't know how that would be. But anyway, irrelevant. What is relevant is that he proactively reached out to Coach Hugh Freeze about the potential of coming and joining his offense here at Auburn. So that's interesting to me from a couple of standpoints. He feels as if Coach Hugh Freeze is a coach that would be able to get him to the next level. Listen, again, he's already been playing 3 years in college football. So his next logical step is trying to figure out how he can get himself into a good draft position, right? So if he's proactively reaching out to Coach Hugh Freeze, he feels like that's a guy that can get him to the NFL. So he's going to take a bet on himself in that way, and that's just something that's unusual. Listen, as an Auburn fan for a long time, I can't remember the last time a guy who is rumored to be one of the top recruits or one of the top transfer guys as at quarterback proactively wanted to come to Auburn. Now, we might have gotten some good quarterbacks in the past, but it's not been often that guy has proactively said, yeah, that's the place that I want to go. I think, Jarrett Stidham probably was the most shoe-in of a guy most recently that transferred to Auburn, where you just knew that's what was going to happen once that transfer happened. He was going to be coming to Auburn, but that was by no means guaranteed the minute that he announced his transfer from Baylor initially. That was a proactive work on the part of the Auburn staff. This is one of the few instances where it's the other way around. A quarterback who's highly touted says, that's a place where I think I can go, and that's going to give me some pro aspirations or a chance at my professional aspirations. So that's different, right? And the other portion of this is about whether or not he can translate his success. Listen, I don't care how you slice it. Throwing for over 8,000 yards in 3 years and 78 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions is good. I don't care what level you do that. Being able to throw for a lot of touchdowns and taking care of the football is an ability to play the quarterback position well. But the speed of the athletes are going to be different, right? So you have to look at things like how ball placement happens, how quickly he's making decisions. And, if it does happen that Grayson McCall comes, we'll do a more in-depth look at what he's put together. There's already some stuff out there on the internet that you can check out. So if you do some research, you can go find some of that stuff. And maybe I'll put some links to some things. But again, I'm not going to do a whole exhaustive study into a guy who hasn't come here yet. But I do like the fact that it's a conversation being had around Auburn football and our ability to be an attractive landing spot for quarterbacks, right? Because that's just not been the case. We've had running backs who've wanted to come here. Listen, if you've been a running back in the past, this is still going to be a place where you're going to be running the ball. The system that Philip Montgomery runs, it has some heavy run concepts. So when I start breaking down some film on Philip Montgomery, you're going to see some really good run concepts. Some things that we've done traditionally out of the shotgun before and the pistol before are still going to be coming into this offense. But you're going to want a quarterback who can make the throws necessary to keep the defense honest. And so that brings the question, right? All of this hype around Grayson McCall, what does that do for Robbie Ashford, right? Because there are a lot of people who have written off Robbie Ashford already. I'm not one of those people. I think that with the right tutelage, which I think that there's some great quarterback mentors that are now at Auburn, between head coach Hugh Freeze, between offensive coordinator Philip Montgomery, and between offensive analyst Kent Austin. There are 3 guys there right now in the building that can work with Robbie Ashford to get him to a place where he can be better about his proficiency from the quarterback position and making the throws necessary to do the things that he needs to do to make the offense go. And you can't teach the natural athletic ability. So he's already going to have the athleticism edge over Grayson McCall. Grayson McCall can run a little bit, don't get me wrong, but there are very few athletes at the quarterback position who can run like Robbie Ashford. So is that going to mean that just because McCall comes in, he's going to immediately be the day one starter? I don't think that that's the case. I still think that at this point in time, it's going to be Robbie Ashford's job to lose. And I've said this about multiple quarterbacks previously, and people have debated me on that statement. I just think that it's not hard to. It is when you are in the incumbent starter in a position and you already have familiarity with the people that are in the building, it's going to be more difficult to unseat that guy just because he's got the camaraderie. And a large portion of being able to play well in any sport is about your camaraderie with your fellow athletes that you're playing with. It's about the relationship that you can forge with those guys. And when you have a good relationship with them, by all accounts, the people in the locker room like Robbie Ashford. So when you have that good relationship, it can translate to the football field because it makes guys root for you harder. It makes them work for you harder. Your offensive line loves you, then they're going to block for you. Your running back guys want to see you succeed. They're going to go out there and fight for extra yardage. It's the same thing as with a quarterback's relationship with his offensive line and other, wide receiver groups and all that kind of thing. Same kind of thing with the coach and his team, right? Like if the people that you are calling the plays for actually believe in the system that you've got going on, they fight a little bit harder. We saw the effect of changing the head coach to Carnell Williams in the last 4 games and just how it just impacted the effort that you saw on the field. That same thing happens when you change quarterbacks sometimes, when it changes the effort that people are putting forth just because they like the guy and they want to fight for him, right? So I think Robbie Ashford being liked in the locker room is important. From the talks that I've had with some people, it doesn't seem like there's an issue with Robbie Ashford as far as his likability amongst the people in the locker room. His talent is definitely there. His drive and his will is definitely there. The question is whether or not he can get the arm talent to marry all that drive. So, but back to Grayson McCall a little bit. So Grayson McCall definitely, I think, has the ability to be a guy in whatever offense he chooses to put up some really great numbers. And I don't think it matters so much whether or not he has played at the Power 5 level. If you can understand where you need to go with the football and be decisive and get there and make the kind of throws with accuracy that you need to, then you can do that wherever. You can do that at any level. The question is whether or not he can continue to be that accurate against the type of athletes that are going to be out there again in SEC defenses. That's yet to be determined. But I want to get you all's comments and your questions. I see a lot of them coming in here. So we're going to get to those comments and questions, and I want to hear from you all on how you guys think about this. As I've already stated, you guys are listening to the Morning Drop, sponsored by Rogue Shop. RogueShop.com, again, is your place for all of your herbal supplement needs. This is everything from if you have trouble with sleeping, trouble with focus, you can go to Rogue Shop. There's a variety of different things there that you can utilize. Use code REPORT to get 15% off of your purchase. If you want to comment on this video, but you're not able to in the live chat, it's because you're not a member of the War Rapport. We do restrict these morning drops to members because we want to make sure that it's family conversation happening right here. But we appreciate everybody jumping in, and I am going to get to this comment section because I see these flying in. Make sure you share the video, man. Share the video so that we can get more people involved in what we got going on, and we love you for it. Dave Medlock jumps in and he says McCall is a great fit. He will run Freeze's offense well and let Robbie get great coaching for a year, then ball out. I've seen this sentiment expressed quite a few times in social media and chat rooms and all that maybe Robbie needs an additional year of development. There's not enough time between now and next fall for Robbie to get to a place where he can be the guy, and McCall is ready to go right now. That would give Robbie some additional time. I don't know that I agree that Robbie needs a whole bunch of time to be able to get good. I think people, again, because they didn't know until the end of the season that he had been playing hurt, they forget that Robbie was playing hurt. And so that did have some impact on his ability to be consistent and accurate. I'm not saying that Robbie's the most accurate thrower in the world. He's not, right? He's not the most accurate thrower in the world, but I don't know that if the right kind of offense is called for Robbie, that he's got to be some precision sniper in year one, because he does have that athleticism that allows you to be able to make up for those things. Like I use the term, I can't recall whether or not it was on one of these shows or if it was on a podcast, because I've been doing a lot of content lately, but I used the term eraser when I was talking about a guy like Caleb Williams, a guy who can just make up for mistakes, make up for blocking errors, make up for bad play calls, just because he's athletic enough to get out of situations. Robbie Ashford is that kind of guy. So with the right tutelage, I don't know how quickly Robbie Ashford can pick up this offense, but I do think that just writing him off right now and just saying, well, McCall's going to give him a year, I think it's Robbie Ashford, the competitive guy that I know he is, he's going to fight for his starting job. James Sawyer jumps in and says, build a solid O-line in front of him, and I like our chances. It will help get other transfers to come to Auburn too. And speaking of Grayson McCall, I think a big portion of what is going to help the success of this Auburn football team is going to be the offensive line, regardless of who the starting quarterback is. And I like what this coaching staff is doing to get more offensive line talent in here to compete for those spots. Let's see. James Buckley jumps in and says, Robbie will ball no matter what. Believe this 100%. And it's going to be at the quarterback position. Trust and believe. Robbie Ashford does not want to. He wants to help the team win, and which is why he embraced the role of the change of pace quarterback. And, he came out in there and he ran the ball for us effectively from the quarterback position early in the season when they were doing the 2 QB system. But make no mistake about it, Robbie Ashford wants to be a quarterback. Matt Reeves says, in the SEC, you must have multiple QBs that can win you games. This would be a win for us, a win-win for all if we can get McCall. I agree with this 100%. The guy who you have to question in all of this, if Grayson McCall comes over, if I'm going to be honest with you, it's got to be Holden Garner as to whether or not when we get into the spring competition, what the depth chart looks like, as to whether or not if Holden Garner is not number 2 on that depth chart, does he sit still and just to say, okay, I'll wait another year or wait to see if someone gets injured. I do have to worry about that because that would be 2 years now that he would not be in that spot to be able to be ready to take over. But I don't know. I've literally never spoken with Holden Garner before, so I don't know really kind of where his mind is about all that stuff. Let's see here. Kenneth jumps in, says, laughing out, Ashford has had to compete at the highest level since high school. McCall hasn't played a great competition. Watch the Troy game. I don't want to watch one game to make an assessment about a player. I like to make assessments based upon multiple games, and there are such things as trends, right? So having a bad game doesn't make me throw somebody out immediately, but I do understand that there is a competition gap between where McCall has been playing and the levels in which he would be coming to in the SEC. Let's see. McCall says Steve Kerr is basically Bo Nix with accuracy. So I haven't watched enough of his tape to get Bo Nix vibes from him. Bo Nix, I think, is probably a better athlete than Grayson McCall is. He can run, but I don't know if he could run like Bo Nix. Like Bo Nix is, listen, there are levels to runners, right? And so Bo Nix isn't quite Robbie Ashford runner, but I do think he's a better runner than Grayson McCall. I'll watch some more tape on him. I'll admit I've watched some breakdown film on him. I've watched one full game of him. I think it was actually no, it wasn't Liberty. It was I don't even remember right now which game. I watched one full game and some breakdown game and then just some highlight stuff of him. And I've seen him run, but I hadn't seen Bo Nix escapability type of running ability from him. So Bo Nix with accuracy, I think maybe is inflating his ability to run a little bit, but that's again with me having not watched a lot of his tape. So I've seen him run, but I ain't seen that. Let's see. Let's see here. Eddie Whalen jumps in and says Freeze will be great for Ashford. I tend to agree with this. I like where we are right now with our QB mentorship in the room. That's not to say that I didn't like where we were previously with our mentorship of QBs. I just think that when you have a system that is going to be more catered to a guy like Robbie Ashford, because I think that a spread system works best for him. Not that he didn't operate well from underneath center. I just think that the spread system allows him to keep his eyes downfield and be able to potentially have quick and easy throws that he can get out and make. One of the film review things that I'm working on is breaking down some things with Robbie Ashford and showing, because I think there's a perception that Robbie didn't make good throws last year. He had very few good throws. I think he made some very simple throws harder than he needed to, and I think he made some hard throws look easier than people would assume that they are. So yes, there's tons of room, and the percentages bear that out, that there's room for Robbie to work on it. I just don't think that we've seen the top potential of Robbie as a healthy athlete yet. James Barnett jumps back in and says, although Robbie was hurt, he still made some NFL throws. And don't forget, he ran all over a Nick Saban defense. Listen, you can't just throw out the athleticism and act like it didn't happen, right? And act like that's not a changing factor for your offense. Your offense looks different with that type of athlete in there. And you can take a lower percentage when you have special in the run game. And I think that people forget that it's really about the full body of work with an athlete, not just one portion of it. 100% Robbie Ashford needs to improve in his proficiency in his bit. I've talked about this plenty of times when I talk about quarterbacks. You really want to be in that mid 60s range. If you can get in Robbie Ashford into 63 to 65% completion percentage, and he still gives you the dynamic, I can break off 100 plus yards per game potentially. I'm not saying he's going to average over 100 yards. If he averages over 100 yards running the ball, and he's throwing for 65%, give him the Heisman Trophy. Like, I just don't even understand what we're talking about there. But I'm just saying, if he can get into that type of percentage and still give you that potential to go for 100 yards, that's a different kind of athlete, man, that you can't just throw it away, right? So make sure that you're not just discounting things like that. All right, let's see what else we got over here. Tori Dickerson, my guy, jumps in and says competition will bring out the best in both Robbie and Grayson. Should he choose Auburn, will be fine once everything is said and done. I agree. Listen, I am a pro competition guy. I'm an advocate for competition. Every single year that we've had someone come into the room, I've been in favor of them coming in to compete. I was in favor of it when TJ Finley came and Bo Nix was the incumbent starter, and people thought I was clamoring for TJ to start over him. No, I was clamoring for somebody to push and make sure that we have the best quarterback out there. I was pro it when TJ Finley was the incumbent starter and Robbie Ashford and Zach Calzada were coming into the room. I wanted someone to push TJ Finley to be the best potential starter that we could possibly have. Now that Robbie Ashford is the incumbent starter, I am in favor of bringing in the best quarterbacks to compete with Robbie Ashford so that we can make sure whoever trots out there as the quarterback for Auburn has won a competition, and I want them to narrowly have won so that if for whatever reason we need to go to the backup, we don't have a significant drop off in talent. So I am very much in favor of competition. Let's see what we have here. A lot of comments this morning. Christian Crawford, I may have answered this already because your comment probably came in while I was going through a lot of my spiel about him. Does he have speed? If he doesn't, then I'm not interested in going back to Brandon Cox and Stidham days. Not that they were bad, just not interested. Need for speed. Speed, I don't know. He can run, right? Like, he's a decent runner from what I've seen. Again, this is for me watching one full game, some highlight film, and a breakdown that I found on the internet about him. He can run, but he's not like, again, Robbie Ashford's a different kind of athlete. If you're looking for Robbie speed, Grayson McCall ain't gonna give that to you, but he can run well enough to go pick up, 10 yards if he's open for it, right? So let's continue here. So yeah, if you're looking for that kind of speed, Christian, you're not gonna find that with McCall. Let's see. What else we got in here before we get out of here? I'm gonna take a couple more, and then I'm gonna let you guys get on out of here. Haley jumps in. Always good to see you in the comments, Haley. Yep. Even if McCall drops a little bit of accuracy from 70% with the SEC transition, he can run, potential Heisman. So listen, I don't care what level you are. 70% completion is 70% completion. Unless every throw was like a little 2-yard dink and dunk, being able to complete the ball with accuracy and not turning the ball over, again, trending, whether he did it, every single game, I'm not going to debate. Yeah, every quarterback that you look at is going to have a bad game. They are. That doesn't make them a bad quarterback. But if Grayson McCall can complete upwards of the high 60%, that's going to be we haven't had a quarterback to really do that in a full season in a while. Bo Nix was trending in that direction before he got hurt, but we just haven't had a quarterback who was proficient from the pocket in a while. So it's going to make the rest of the athletes even that more dangerous when we can get the ball into their hands quickly and decisively. So you want a quarterback who can do that. Corey Weber jumps in and says, Ike, can McCall be productive with a subpar O-lines in terms of getting the ball out quickly? I believe that any quarterback who is set up for success to get the ball out quickly can be successful regardless of the offensive line. For those of you who are patrons, there's a video that I did last year about a couple of weeks ago. I say last year, this past season, about ways that we can improve the pass game without having to do much changes with personnel groupings or the offensive line. And, everybody talks about how bad our offensive line. There are some quick, easy throws that were available last year to us that I thought that we could have gone to more frequently to help Robbie get into his groove a little bit better and to allow us to be better as an offense passing the ball without having to invent new things, because that was a big thing. People were like, well, you can't change the offense in such a quick period. I was like, I don't think you have to change the offense. And I'm showing plays that were in our offense already that would allow some quick, easy throws that Robbie made already in previous games. Just go to those throws a little bit more often. So having an O-line that can't block for long periods of time doesn't really matter if you can scheme the right things up and you can make it look different out of different formations. So yes, I do believe that with a subpar O-line, McCall, even though he's not athletic, can be a difference maker for our offense. Let's see here. Last one here. I'm going to jump in here with Don Cullen said, would Robbie stay if he becomes QB2, sit out a year when you were the man? Hard call. I think it's difficult to say that Robbie would transfer if he was not the starting quarterback, because he's already used his free transfer. And I don't know that he's really interested in leaving. I think that if he were the number 2 QB, he'd have to kind of accept that for right now, unless he just decided he wanted to sit out an entire year. I've not spoken with Robbie to determine whether that's the case. I think Robbie is 100% in his mind going to win the starting job. It doesn't matter who you bring in. So right now, that's not even a thought in his mind. But to your question, if that were to happen and he was the number 2 QB coming out of the spring, say, would he entertain leaving and going to the transfer portal? I don't know the answer to that right now. I would say my thought process right now would be no, but I couldn't answer that in the right now without knowing kind of the situation that precipitated that. All right. That's it, man. We're going to get out of here today. Once again, I appreciate you guys jumping in here with me on the morning drop. If you want to subscribe to the channel, man, click like on the video and make sure you comment on the video. That definitely helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Share the video with somebody else. If you're not a member, go ahead and become a member of the War Report, because we got some great things coming out for you, exclusive drops just for you guys in the membership. As always, we are sponsored by Rogue Shop. Go to rogueshop.com using code REPORT. Supporting the War Report means supporting the people who support the War Report, and that is our sponsors, man. So head over to Rogue Shop to do that, man. I'm out of here. Until next time, and as always, War Eagle, you have been listening to the Morning Drop. We are gone. War Eagle, peace.